Awesome, everybody. Well, this is a super exciting session that we got coming up next. We got Rich here. Hey, Rich, looks like you made it in. Thank you
I
so much
did.
for
I did. A little late, a little slow, but we're in.
good, 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 good. Yeah, super sorry that it took a little bit longer to get you in here and whatnot, but thanks so much for jumping on here. And at least you still got a good amount of time, and there's nobody actually after you. So if you do need a little more time too, you can just keep rolling a little bit. So um,
Okay.
yeah, really appreciate you taking the time here. I've been telling everybody, we have always wanted to have Noah part of our online events like this, and so we're super excited to have you a part of this one, especially this one because it's all about DIY, people building their tiny houses and whatnot, and that's what you guys really specialize in. So, and obviously also other types of certifications, but we're super pumped to have you a part of today. So,
No, I appreciate it. So, what I'd like to do, and it depends on how many people we actually have in the background here, but I'd like to run this in sections or parts and go through a part and pause at the end and see if anybody has any questions, concerns, or questions, answers that they want are seeking, and go from there. So I'll just
perfect.
go through what I'm going to go through, and then we'll definitely. Rich, how do you pronounce your last name? That's a good one. So if you hyphenate it, Pets, Kev, and then itch, Petkevich, uh, that'll get you there. So that's why
Okay.
everybody knows me as Rich P.
Rich P, yeah. Yeah, well, I wouldn't have even attempted to try to pronounce it. So,
Yeah, I couldn't blame you there. So,
awesome, man. Good
all
stuff. Well,
right,
that sounds great to take it in chunks like that. I'm gonna go ahead and disappear here, but I'll be, on the back end here. If you need anything, just
all
give
right,
me a holler. Awesome. Thanks, Rich P.
appreciate it. All right, so I'm going to start off by letting everybody know I do not have any pretty pictures or slides for the presentation. So for the next hour or however long we are here, you'll only have my stellar self. I'm going to give you a little information on our company, NOAA RDI, and its remote inspection processes. With that said, again, I'll reintroduce myself. Name is Richard Pikevich. But as the host just pointed out, and a couple other people, a lot of people refer to me as Rich P. So Rich P is more than suitable. So NOAA RDI in itself is a unique company. It offers a 100% remote inspection process. And we have over 8 years of offering remote inspections while literally successfully completing thousands of inspections through that remote process. NOAA completes these inspections throughout all of the US and outside of the US as well. We have clients and builders all over Canada, all over a couple places in Mexico. And we did have a brief stint overseas as well, over in China. Um, that was a learning process for everybody, because certain things that we refer to, in common construction terms, they don't always blend over to a different language. So we had to have somebody that was well versed in American construction and able to relay it in their language. Um, so we're strongly involved in the tiny house world. We are mildly involved with modulars, and we have officially opened the doors to a NOAA on-call building department. Um, the website for that is actually digitizedinspections.com. It's just up now. It doesn't have much content on there, but like I said, we just opened the doors, so we're getting that underway and hoping to move forward with that pretty rapidly over the remainder of this year and next. For today, though, our focus is just going to be tiny homes. Um, we offer differing levels of service, but we'll stick to the three that we do for tiny houses. The first level of service is what we like to coin as an as-built. These are individuals that have already completed a tiny house, or they have obtained it from, they repurchased it from somebody else or something along those lines. And they're having trouble either getting insurance, getting it into an RV park, or even their local municipality is requiring them to have some type of certification so they know, it's been through some safety standards. Um, NOAA, at NOAA, we've successfully had as-built inspections. It's not a guarantee, but we can definitely go through any unit and see if we can get it up to the standards of an as-built. For our second level of service, it's called NOAA Plus. This is basically a new build from the ground up. So you start with a chassis, and then you get your framing and everything else going. And we have inspections along the whole process. The NOAA Plus standard, it exceeds the common industry standards of ANSI 119.5. That's kind of the benchmark for the entire industry on tiny home inspections. And it's not that it's a bad standard, but it needed some tweaking. So that's why we have certain amendments on our end to increase, values of structure, life safety, and insulation, just to make the whole unit more comfortable to be lived in on a. You can live in it on a full time, but we'd recommend it more on a seasonal use and go from there. Our third level of service is what we coin as our dwelling. It's the highest available offering by any inspection company out there. It includes life and safety aspects that you would find in a newly built home, and it is wholly ideal for full-time living. Our dwelling could be a great option for placement as an ADU if your municipality requires permits. But as always, and with the last speaker that pointed out, you have to check with your municipality or wherever you're taking the unit, because each one, as we all are finding out, has different regulations, different stipulations, or they may just not allow tiny homes at all. In addition to those three levels of services for tiny homes, we do offer inspection services for schoolies and vehicle conversions. Our prices for all of these services are on our website. They're posted and you can Google NOAA RDI, and you'll find that information plus a bunch of resources for other information as well. One item that we got asked every blue moon is we're an inspection company where we do not write code and standard. We use sources that have already established codes and standards, and we pull from those to make it easier. This way, it's industry wide. So with that said, does anybody have any questions or anything that they'd like to know just based off of that little bit of information that we have now? And hello, my name is My Tiny is NOAA certified. All NOAAs across the country under one umbrella, or are they independent from each other? So to answer Deborah's comment or question would be, they aren't necessarily the same for each certified unit, because we offer the different level of service, like I was just saying. So going back to it could be an as-built, which is the most basic of the units, or it could be the NOAA Plus, which is the middle of the road, the very typical, or the dwelling. So yeah, on our seal that we provide for every unit, we have that information on there, so you'll be able to identify which one it is. We're in the process of recently clarifying the as-built itself, because we've run across just some internal concerns that we needed to be more clear about that, because we don't want people to mistake it for something that we've inspected from the ground up. So that's always a big deal there. Let me see here. Hope that answers everything you had there, Deborah. What is the difference between NOAA, RVIA, and ANSI standard? So, I'm gonna assume that you're speaking of the NOAA Plus standard versus the ANSI certification. So with the NOAA Plus standard, we have increased R values for insulation. We have a mandatory requirement for hardwired smoke detectors. Um, we also have drawing a blank here. Structural standards that are more aligned with the current codes out there um, than what ANSI provide. ANSI's a little lackadaisical on that part of it. So, we have increased standards on that end. Liza writes, do you have any online tutorials for DIY project? I know in the very beginning of NOAA, we did offer some YouTube videos and things like that. At this point, though, we don't have anything DIY. If there's a specific question or answer or question that you have, we will gladly take a look at it, whether you remember or not. Um, just email over, and if it's something that we can go through quickly and have a quick discussion, then we gladly will, because we want to see everybody succeed, whether you're with us or another inspection company. The goal is to get everybody safe and sound and happy. And then Doug writes, did I hear you say that you can provide your services for Canadian units? I am in Ontario. Yes, we can. Um, it's like I said, we have a handful of builders up there, and they're all NOAA certified. So yeah, it's definitely a possibility. Go on our website, NOAA RDI, and reach out on one of the emails to Nancy's probably the best to speak with on that, because she's in our sales and she's very familiar with processes and things like that up there. Megan, built an ADU in 2023, but I also have an 8x15 tiny house on a foundation that I couldn't get a permit as a habitable house. Had to decommission it, very sad. Could I convert that tiny house to an office or studio? There are only 2 to 3 items that need to be changed to make it code compliant using Appendix AQ. To add, the city says we are also not allowed to have more than one habitable structure. Yeah, so as far as not having more than 2 habitable structures, that's a zoning requirement. That's out of our league, unfortunately. As far as converting it to an office or studio, so for our purposes, it has to be on wheels. Um, and it'd have to meet certain aspects for the as-built. But I think it's worth, if you want to reach out, and we can definitely get a discussion going and see if we can make something happen. We'd be more than glad to take a look at that. So, all right. Well, with that part, I am going to jump into my next section here. So, getting into our inspection processes a little bit. Please confirm website as NOAA RDI. Yes, that is confirmed. Yep. Thank you, Tammy. So NOAA's inspectors. Every inspector that we have is certified. There's no requirement for tiny home inspectors to be certified within the industry. It would only be regulated by the states themselves. But there are states that don't get involved in tiny homes as far as on the certification level itself. Our staff is either INTRNACHI certified, which would be a home inspector with many years for both of our guys, or through the International Code Council, which is the standard for inspecting, residential and commercial dwellings, depending on what certifications you have. Um, we feel it provides a better inspection experience because, our inspectors are able to explain the why not, and offer assistance on how to. Um, it's very important to be able to, communicate with you, the client, and for us to be able to relay, if there's a concern issue or something can be done in a better or easier method, then we'd like to see, like I said, our goal is to have everybody succeed that we come in contact with, and have everybody happy at the end of the day. We use a client, I'm sorry, we use an app, and the client can have access to it from their phone, tablet, or other smart device. You definitely need a reasonable Wi-Fi or cellular connection, because there are times where, if you're in a bad area or there's a storm coming, the connection just won't work. And especially if your tiny house has, a metal roof, metal siding, it typically interferes with the inside inspections quite a bit. So that's definitely one thing, you have to check ahead of time. Excuse me. Um, so when we complete our inspections, in our process, we always verbally relay, what if the unit's approved, if there's deficiencies and they need correcting. And then in addition to that, you'll also get an email follow up the next day stating, exactly what the inspector said. This way, if you didn't catch everything or have the ability to write it down, boom, it's in an email and it's right there for you. If you have an inspection requiring some correction of some item, and we have the ability to view the item at the next inspection, we do try and be reasonable. It is up to the inspector's discretion, but we do try and be reasonable and pass it through. Like I said, as long as we can safely see what we need to see and confirm, it's fully corrected, and so on and so forth. Like, for example, if you had an electrical inspection and we didn't have the grounds tied together, and then your next inspection would be insulation, you know, we would typically let you go proceed to insulation and view that item, those electrical items at insulation as well, just to keep the process moving, because we know, time is always of the essence, and not everybody has, days upon days to complete these things. With that, we first start our process with a plan review. We're seeking basic information about the build, and we offer a guideline to assist you in providing that plan review to us. So we're looking for something simple, like an overhead layout. It shows, where the sleeping area is going to be, the kitchen, the bathroom, that kind of thing, and a couple other things that go with that, like a plumbing diagram, an electrical diagram, what's going to be in the walls for insulation, what's going to be, the material that we're building out of. Are we building out of steel studs, or are we building out of wood studs? The size of those studs, the spacing, the same thing with the roof, the materials, size, spacing, that kind of thing. And then once your plans are approved, we can begin, the inspections, the stages of inspections. We have a 24-hour policy, and but if you run into an emergency and say, hey, I'm only here for this day, can I please get an inspection? We will try and accommodate you to get everything going through. So with that, does anybody have any questions on that part of this conversation? Or did I lose everybody? No, nothing here, nothing yet, nothing going. Still here. Okay. All right. So I will move on to our actual inspections. So for the first inspection for us, it would be what we consider a stage one. The that would be the insulation or the insulation. I'm reading the comment in the chat. Um, that would be the actual chassis trailer itself. You know, whether it was provided by a common and reputable builder, or whether it was uh, built by a welder. We're looking for certain things, chains, breakaways, the number of axles, the size of the frame rails, and your actual dimensions of the unit and things like that. Then after that would be chassis or trailer insulation. And just to make sure they have insulation. One of the things that we've recently implemented was we require what's called a thermal break. So when the when you have metal, like metal from the trailer, and it's in contact with, say, the wood sheathing, the wood subfloor sheathing, we've noticed over time that having that direct contact and depending, especially depending on where you live in the U.S. Or where you're going to have the unit, you can get a slight amount of rot, from those two areas because you have a warm inside, a cold outside, and just nature will just take its course. So we do require what's called a thermal break. It's basically something. It could be as simple as something as like sill seal, where you would have on a residential house. It's a very thin foam plastic or foam. It's very flexible. That it would adhere to anything that was placed on top of it, but it provides just that little bit of separation to slow that process down. Um, and there's a question in here. What R value insulation is required? So for our NOAA Plus standard, that value is for the floor, it's R13. For the walls, it's R13, and for the ceiling, it's R19. Um, and then for our dwelling standard, it increases to R19 in the floor, R13 in the wall, and then R30 in the ceiling. And the dwelling standard actually it falls in line with Colorado just came up with a statewide tiny house code, and our dwelling standard is pretty much in line with Colorado. There might be small subtlety differences, but overall, it's definitely one and the same. Um, so that is part of that section as far as the chassis. And we're going to move on to stage two, which would be the actual framing of the unit. So as far as framing goes, um, I don't want to stick with one framing or the other, whether it's wood or metal, but um, we obviously accept traditional wood framing, 16 on center, 24 on center, for your wall studs or your rafters. The same thing goes with metal stud framing, but at that point we're looking for the gauge of steel and that type of thing. And obviously the header system's a little bit different because you have a couple different options with steel framing that you don't necessarily have with traditional wood framing. The one thing that we look for religiously is to make sure that the bottom sill plate of your wall is strapped down or bolted down to the chassis. Um, that is a maximum of 6 foot on center, and it includes the front and rear gable ends, which a lot of people tend to overlook, and that's probably it's that area probably gets the most headwind because that's the area being towed from or pushed behind. So it's a real critical area. Um, we require headers over all openings. We require additional king stud fasteners because we've had an engineer review a typical tiny house, and he gave us a little, some insights and additional requirements like these uh, king studs on any window or door. They require an additional mechanical fastener of some type. Um, as far as anything else framing wise, we I mean, I could get into crazy detail, but it's very similar to what you would have in a house. Not so much a shed because a shed's allowed to. They have a lot of leeway on sheds and the type of lumber that they use and how they do things. Um, it says, "Are you showing slides?" Unfortunately, no. I'm not going to show any slides right now. I didn't plan on it for this session. I apologize if that disappoints somebody. I know slides are slides are worth 1,000 words. Pictures worth 1,000 words, but yeah, unfortunately, no, I'm not. Um, and then our third stage is divided up into two stages. We call them stage 3P and stage 3E. Stage 3P would be for your plumbing. So at that point, we're looking for the entire plumbing system to be completed or roughed in, we'll call it. Um, that would include your water lines from start to finish, where they would come in. Where you have water coming into the unit, it would go to a water tank. You get your hot water, and then both hot and cold lines go out from there. Um, on that line, we're looking for nail plates. We're looking for spacers if you have metal framing, so it doesn't you know uh, pull away at it. And we're also looking for tests. So we always want to see a test on a water line, an air test, and then for our drain lines and vent system, we are looking for one or two tests. It could be an air test of 5 psi or a water test where you would basically cap all the lower uh, plumbing outlets, and you would fill the plumbing system from the vent up with water until it topped off, and then let it sit for at least 15 minutes. Um, the type of materials that you can use are pretty much standard across the industry that you could use in a house. So back to water supply, you can use PEX, you can use CPVC. Um, I mean, if you really wanted to, you could use copper, but I haven't seen anybody do that. Um, and then as far as the drain lines go, you can use ABS pipe, you can use PVC. I mean, there's whatever is approved for material, you can definitely use it. So that's not an issue at all. And over to our 3E, that would be our electrical. So as far as electrical goes, we tend to like to start off with at the electrical panel for our inspection. Um, one good note is that the electrical panel, do not locate it in the kitchen or bathroom. It, it's a water hazard at that point, and becomes a huge safety issue on our end. Um, they do make exterior mount electrical panel boxes, but be certain that it is exterior rated because there are interior and there are exterior rated panels, and they are different, obviously, because one keeps water out and one will not. So we would typically start our inspection at the panel, and we would work from there, looking for an outside light, looking for an outside receptacle at the front door. And then, if you have a mini split, we're looking for a disconnect there. And then we'd go inside the unit. One of the three items that make us a little bit unique is that we do require hardwired smoke detectors in each sleeping area. hardwired and interconnected. And then in the kitchen, we do require two dedicated 20 amp kitchen countertop circuits. That usually catches people off on surprise because they wouldn't expect that on a tiny house, even though it's required in a regular residential home. The other area would be the bathroom. We do require a 20 amp dedicated to the bathroom countertop circuit as well. And then a couple little nuance things like we've noticed that over the years again, where moisture is an issue in the tiny homes, because everything's compact and mini splits, they do have a dehumidification to them, but it's not always adequate. So we started requiring a humidistat. The humidistat is basically you can either use it, it's either integrated into a fan for the bathroom, or you can purchase it separately as a switch. And basically, it acts as a timer where um, it can either be set to go off every, let's say, every hour for 10 minutes to just exhaust air. You can obviously adjust that timing and level, and to whatever suits your needs. But that is one thing that we've constantly heard back from people was the level of humidity is high in these tiny houses, especially if you have a lot of plants. It just goes through the roof. So that is that. And does anybody have, hold on a minute, NOAA website says that no RDI is not inspecting factory built or modular home construction. Is there a reason why NOAA is not providing? So we are, but we've curbed the process to expanding it right now. And I think I don't think, but I know it's what it is like everybody else, every other employer out there, um, trying to find qualified and certified people, but more importantly, people that can communicate well um, through Zoom and you know basically treat people as you want to be treated. Not fly off or whatever it is. So um, we are still pursuing more opportunity on that, but we need more inspection staff. So if you know anybody, tell them to send their resume over to NOAA because we are looking. We prefer to see individuals with ICC certifications. They can be located in any state. Um, but yeah, if anybody's interested, we'll be glad to have that conversation with you. Hours are flexible. I mean, we can accommodate part-time, and actually we prefer to part-time and go from there. But back on the task here. Um, so the next inspection would be our insulation. That is our stage 4. And with that, we're looking to see that all the windows and doors are installed. All of the jambs around the windows and doors are sealed in. So, like a low expansion foam. And, they're not just sealed in, a half inch or something like that. They're full depth. It seems to be a real common issue, or just around in general, is the filling that area full depth. Because I mean it's a high leak area if you don't take care of that stuff. And then the insulation, it fits snug in all the cavities, over doors, over windows. The one thing that we do a little bit unique, that I don't know if everybody else does it or not, to be honest, but we do require a minimum of, and it sounds really small, but we do require a minimum of an R5 insulation over the wheel well. That is, in my opinion, one of the most missed items out there. And it's one of the biggest sources of cold air besides, your whole underbelly. One of the biggest sources of cold air coming into the unit. So we require an R5 foam board to be secured directly to the wheel well itself. we love it when we see units that, you know, they have a raised floor system, makes life easy. Don't have to worry about that kind of thing. Um, and then, you know, for ceiling insulation, things like that, it's a matter of, you know, everything fitting snug, you know, it's full depth, you know, from end to end, that kind of thing. Nothing, nothing rocket science there. Um, one of the questions is, do you have a PDF with the list of qualifications during inspection processes? So as far as a list of qualifications, um, I'm not 100% certain where you're going with that, but so in a nutshell, our inspectors do work from a checklist, um, and that checklist is a standard kind of boilerplate checklist that meets, you know, that would require the minimums of this. Minimum for, you know, electrical inspection, minimum for plumbing, insulation, chassis, and so on. And that is actually submitted as part of our inspection results. Um, so we have consistency. You know, you don't have one inspector that's, you know, asking for one thing and another inspector that's asking for another. We try and be as consistent as we possibly can, and we, on that same note, we do get together with the inspectors. Um, it used to be weekly, but we have a solid, stable group who's been working together now for some time. So we moved it to bi-weekly, and you know, but obviously we're all available by Zoom, text, you know, pick up the phone, whatever it is. And we frequently do have conversations within those 2 weeks. Just say, hey, you know, we've seen this. What do you think about this? That kind of thing. But our main goal at NOAA as inspectors is consistency, because you know, what helps us is helps you guys. Um, so it says I missed a minute when you discussed ventilation and moisture. Did you say ERVs? So no, ERVs are not required. We do have a really good handful of builders and some DIYers that do install ERV systems in units. But what we do require is the exhaust fan in the bathroom. It has a humidistat. So it's either a humidistat fan in itself or a humidistat switch, where it'll turn on a preset time and for a preset length of time. The things you're explaining now, I mean, there is a list we can follow. So we don't provide a list uh, to the clients themselves. Um, we will gladly, so like when we finish an inspection for, say, you know, stage 2 at framing, what I always do is I always ask you, you know, do you have any questions or concerns with anything now or the next stage of inspection? So then that helps get you in a mindset of, all right, you know, yeah, I did have this question about, you know, electrical. I wasn't sure how to do this, or wanted to know, you know, if I could do that. Um, but as far as an actual list, no, we don't, because there's too many. The problem with a list is, and providing it, is we don't want you to only focus on that list specifically, um, and have everything else fall off after that. And it's impossible to provide every single item on a list. That list would literally never end. So I mean, if we do get people asking for it, you know, more and more, um, then it's definitely something we would consider. But again, it would be, you know, pretty much a bullet point, you know, 1 page list, just for more informational purposes or quick hit items that we typically encounter. And then our last stage would be stage 5. That is final, all said, done. Unit is operational, ready to be used and enjoyed. So at that point, um, we we'll do a full outside inspection, make sure everything's sealed up from the outside. That, if there's a metal roof, the metal roof is bonded to the chassis. If there's a mini split system, that you have a disconnect, that, there's an underbelly pan to protect any insulation from, weathering, rodents, animals, that kind of thing. And just make sure, again, that it matches what you submitted in your plans. And if there are any deviations from that, then, we'll need a change on that end, just so we're all accurate and have, reasonable records, because we do keep all the records for indefinitely. And you have access as a client or builder, you have access to those records indefinitely as well. It's on a secured cloud server where there's crash backup upon crash backup. So that should never be, I won't say never, but it should never be an issue. And then we would go on the inside and look at, the kitchen as far as any sinks, the drains, how they're hooked up, the same thing in a bathroom, the sinks, how the drains are hooked up, the toilet, whether it's composting, flush, what had incinerator, and then the shower tub, any windows in there that may be required to be tempered. Because if you have let's say a tub, and you have a window, a low window, which isn't uncommon in a tiny house. If you're within 60 inches of the floor, it's going to require it to be tempered, because if you ever fall into it for whatever ungodly reason, the last thing you want is to be impaled by a piece of glass over a shower. And as far as stairs, we're looking for consistency on the stairs, for riser and tread. We're looking for railing systems, railing assemblies, and the same in a loft itself. So basically any raised floor system in a tiny house that's 30 inches or higher from the other floor levels, there has to be a guardrail assembly. Typical to what you would find in a residential house, like on a railing, on a foyer, that kind of thing. And then at that point, we confirm your humidistat or ERV or even HRV. We don't see many of those HRVs though. We're looking for smoke detectors, try it out, make sure it's operable. Try out the egress from the egress window or hatch or whatever it may be from sleeping areas, that kind of thing. And it's a general run through, and make sure the unit has a fire extinguisher. So with that, does anybody have any questions at all? Because that pretty much wraps up what our inspection process looks like on our end. And very in depth. Thank you. If anybody needs any information or is looking to have a conversation, feel free to reach out. Like I said, it's never a problem. We obviously prefer to speak with members in itself, but we're like I said, we're willing to help out everybody and try and keep everybody moving forward. My email is here. I'll put it up. Did I go out of here? Is Rich P. Here, let me go on here a minute. So Rich P at nocertified.org. And boop. So that's my email for y'all. And yeah, if you have any other questions or concerns, feel free to reach out, and I may forward it to somebody else, if I have too much going on at the time. I can't see it. Thank you. How soon would we reach out to you as we begin the build process? The sooner the better. get the process started, and because like I said, there's a plan review process on our end. So you definitely want to get that out there as soon as possible. Yeah, thank you for reposting the email. Just want to make sure everybody has it there. Got it. Okay, good. All right. All right. Well, I thank you all, and I thank the presenters for putting on this event. Really good event, really informative for everybody out there. And it was nice to hear a lot of other perspectives on their approaches and different ways of doing things. So it's always nice to hear from everybody. Greatly appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Rich P. We appreciate the time that you took to kind of fully explain the process you guys go through, which I think is super important. And a lot of people don't quite know or understand what they'll be getting themselves into. So having that clearly laid out makes a lot of sense. And do you review plans before? Do people have to have plans when they want to get their tiny home certified?
We did implement a plan review process, and yeah, so that is part of your whole inspection process, where because we've come to find that we can pick up on a lot of incidental items on the plan that can save a lot of trouble, say at framing or electrical and things like that, where we don't want to see we don't want to see people redoing things. And have to tear things apart. If it could be avoided, we want to avoid that at all costs.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean that makes sense, and it also probably speeds up the build, a lot
Yeah.
less redo of anything and everything. So that's great. And how much are people allowed to deviate from the plans once they've gotten them approved by you guys?
So as long as the outside structure doesn't go outside the boundaries of what's done, I mean, you can deviate if you say you wanted to change a raised living room into a bedroom. As long as that new area has an egress compliant window, and we get say and then when we're on the inspection, and just be upfront and say, hey, listen, we're doing this with this room. And then all we're going to do is confirm what we need to confirm on our end, like the egress window. And then we're just going to ask you, say, hey, when you get a chance, just submit a revision of an overhead floor plan, and that's it. And then so we can mark it approved, stick it in a file, and everybody's on the same page.
Cool, cool. Yeah, I like that. That's awesome. Yeah, that makes sense. And about how long does it take to go through your plan review process, slash like when should somebody kind of submit it to you?
So we have we say 3 to 5 business days. I can tell you that usually it doesn't take more than two, and that's very, very consistent throughout. Because typically what happens is our operations manager, Sherry, she'll get it in, she'll forward it to one of the people, including myself. And usually within that same day, we're on it. It's very rare that we're not.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, that's a nice and quick turnaround. Very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, we try and
Cool.
keep it short and simple, just keep everybody moving. Like I said, just keep everybody moving forward. That's the goal.
Yeah, yeah, which has been very helpful, and and you guys are doing some of the legit, because when Noah first started, weren't you guys just basically doing kind of like a certification that was like an in-house certification? You guys weren't necessarily doing like ANSI certification and so on, or were you guys originally doing that?
Yeah, no, we started off using ANSI alone, and then we realized that after hearing back from a lot of people that had their units certified to ANSI, um, we listened to the concerns and complaints, and that was the industry standard, and it still is to a lot of extent from a lot of inspection companies, but it was just lacking in a whole lot of other areas. So that's when we decided to increase it with like the NOAA Plus, and then by listening to all of our clients.
Yeah, cool, cool. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's a good way to go. So, and like you said, listen to the feedback and you learn what people wish they had, so then you can do that for the people who are going to be doing it. So,
Yeah.
awesome. Cool. Well, I think that's pretty much everything we had. My final question would be, what would be your sign off farewell thoughts to anybody who's looking to go DIY?
Do it. Don't, you know what? There's never a perfect time or perfect moment or perfect opportunity. If if it's really in you, just do it. And you'll find the right person or people or YouTube to help you along the way. I mean, there's so many resources out there, and there's so much available. And like I said, we're a resource as well. Um, we'll gladly try and offer whatever assistance we reasonably can.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. And uh, actually, some people who are going through the actual certification with you guys right now, Jason and Damaris, they spoke a little bit earlier today, and they said that it's been a great experience working with you guys, and that they're pretty much saying the same thing, though. They're able to get the help that they needed kind of along the way, and that you guys have been right there, like helping them, cheering them on the whole time, and even like when they had some different plumbing issues that they had to work through a few different times, you guys were kind of there patiently holding their hand through it basically and
Yeah.
whatnot. They're
Yep, yeah,
excited. They don't have,
absolutely. It's for somebody that's never done any plumbing. It looks easy on the surface, couple pipes, put them together with some glue or some fittings and call it a day. But there's a little more to it. And but like I said, I mean, I can't tell you how many times that I've text somebody after an inspection, and I said, hey, here's 3 examples of you know a laundry standpipe. That's a really common one. Laundry standpipe and how it's supposed to actually be versus what we typically see. And so I mean, that just little things like that help the client and help us at the end of the day too, because makes if we're making their life easier, it's going to make our life easier too.
yep, absolutely. Yep, that makes sense. Cool,
But
Rich. Well, yeah, we greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for the time, and yeah, I'm looking forward to hopefully being able to do more of this stuff with you guys. We
love
love
it.
having you.
Would
Good,
love it.
good.
Good. All right. Well, I greatly appreciate you guys hosting, and yeah, we look forward to anything you want to put on. Just let us know, and we'll gladly join.
Sounds good. Yeah, we'll be reaching out.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Rich. We greatly appreciate it, and I know everybody out there loved it as well too. So thank you so much.
All right. All right. Take care, everybody.
Yep. See
Okay.
ya.